Women on Corporate Boards is Cable's hallmark initiative, extending the reach of our organization across the state of Tennessee. And Cable has sponsored Women in Corporate Leadership benchmarking studies since 2003. Despite evidence that diverse board composition leads to improved governance and higher profits, we have seen virtually no progress toward gender blindness in Tennessee companies between then and now. We'd first like to thank our presenting sponsors, Avenue Bank and Lipscomb University Dean Institute for Corporate Governance and Integrity. Our media sponsors are the Tennessean Media Group, Nashville Business Journal, and NashvillePost.com. We have our silver sponsors, Allstate and MetLife Southern Financial Group, and our bronze sponsors, AT&T, BDO, Bridgestone Americas, InfoWorks, NES, and TVA. And now, to begin our program, I'm delighted to introduce my friend, Turney Stevens. Turney is the Dean of Lipscomb University School of Business, and he is also the one responsible for their ongoing and invaluable sponsorship of the Women in Corporate Leadership study that we partner with them on, and host of today's event. Turney?
And I'm delighted, by the way, to be one of the males on the program. So thank you, ladies, for including a few of us guys on the program this morning. This is Cable's third annual Board Walk of Fame event, and it's the fourth year that our College of Business has partnered with Cable to conduct research on gender diversity among corporate boards in Tennessee. So making boards more diverse will, of course, not guarantee better governance, but it will guarantee broader input, it will guarantee more viewpoints, it will guarantee more true independence, and frankly, it'll guarantee more fairness. And so we're pleased to support that. We're pleased to honor and host this vital event this morning as together we celebrate those Tennessee companies that have chosen to diversify their boards by naming women to board seats, and as we celebrate those women whose accomplishments and experiences were such that they were qualified to be named. Now quickly, what did the study show? Let me just summarize a couple of top-line facts. First, let's begin with the good news. The good news is that there are now 46 women on 65 public boards in the state of Tennessee. There are now 2 female public company executives and CEOs in the state of Tennessee. The report next year will confirm that. We stay 1 year behind because of filing requirements and all of that, but we actually have 2 now. That's up from just 1 this time last year when we did our program, and there are now 10 public companies in Tennessee which have 2 or more female directors. That's all good news. What about the bad news? Well, consider this. Not much has changed in the years since we first did this study. Of the 15 other states sponsored by ION, state studies sponsored by ION, which is Cable's national affiliate organization, Tennessee, unfortunately, ranks dead last. We have the fewest females on our public boards of any of those state studies. At the national level, of the Fortune 1000 largest U.S. companies, excluding privately held companies, all but 139 of those companies have at least 1 female representative on their board. This means that more than 80% have at least 1 female. While we saw that 46 of 65 in our state, or 71% of public companies in Tennessee, have at least 1 female director, only about 8% of available board seats are held by women. At the national level, the rate is approximately double, or about 15%. All of this flies in the face of research done by McKinsey as well as others, showing that companies with diverse boards outperform those that are not diverse. This is consistently true when the research is done. It flies in the face of the fact that more than 80% of consumer purchasing decisions in the U.S. are made by women. It flies in the face of the fact that women overwhelmingly control our financial assets in this country, about 90% if you look at the numbers. I tell you this because we consider it to be the essence of our ethical responsibility here at Lipscomb to be fair to all and to place the best people possible into the board chairs of America. We are committed through the Dean Institute and through all of our activities here at Lipscomb to promote and to encourage women to achieve all that they are capable of achieving. There is no limit, although there may still be a glass ceiling, especially in some of the nations and even the states' boardrooms.
Good morning. I'm honored to serve as an advisor to the Cable Women on Corporate Boards initiative, and we are very proud of our Board Walk of Fame event and very glad that you're here. I'm pleased to tell you about a couple of other very significant initiatives and one important program that is local that promotes the success of women on boards is Women Corporate Directors, WCD. Thanks to Jan Babiak, one of our Progressus honorees you just met, we have launched the Tennessee chapter of WCD. WCD is a global membership consisting only of sitting corporate directors. We have over 1,350 members in 39 global chapters serving on over 1,500 boards. We launched our Tennessee chapter in 2011 and already have 20 local members, serving on boards of U.S. and international companies, proving we clearly have qualified and experienced women director candidates in Tennessee. Now, my definition of a mayor who gets it is Mayor KARL Dean, our mayor of Metro Nashville and Davidson County. He truly understands the value of diversity at all levels and works to promote and realize value throughout our city. Mayor Dean has made significant progress in his 3 priorities: improving schools, making neighborhoods safer, and bringing more and better jobs to Nashville. Mayor Dean will present our Board Walk of Fame corporate honorees. These are the corporations leading the way, with 2 or more women on their board of directors. Please join me in welcoming my fellow Leadership Nashville classmate and friend, Mayor KARL Dean.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Linda, for that introduction. I want to commend and thank you, Susan and Cable, for the way you're bringing together people to keep the focus on issues that affect women. I will be very brief in my remarks so I can get to the presentation. While I'm talking to you today, I am very much aware that I've got 3.5 years on my time as mayor, and when 3.5 years are over, it is up. I came into office knowing that I had 4 and hopefully 8 years to lead our city. I set some priorities: a healthy education system, healthy and safe neighborhoods, and a healthy and robust job market. We're making good headway on all of those areas. While our nation and our city has struggled with its economic recovery and cities nationwide, including ours, have had to make cuts, our city has continuously invested in education. We've increased funding for public resources in our neighborhoods so that they can be safer. And through our Music City Center, the Mngt Hotel, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and other economic development initiatives, we're creating new jobs. And while we are focused and working hard on these priorities, we are also careful to set an example in 2 very important areas. 1, the way we treat ourselves, and 2, the way we treat others. Through Nash Vitality, and that's our city's healthy living initiative, we've tried to demonstrate how important it is for all of us to take personal responsibility when it comes to our health. I've asked Nashvillians to walk 100 miles with me. 4,000 participated and 500 completed the 100 miles. I asked our citizens to run a 5K with me, and 5,000 of them did. There'll be more requests coming. From all indications, I believe we are beginning to think about the choices we make when it comes to health. The way we treat others is equally, if not more important, and that gets to the crux of why we are here today. I've tried to make inclusion and diversity just a natural part of the way our city does business. We implemented a procurement non-discrimination program through legislation with the Metro Council to better include women and minority businesses in the procurement process. Working with the leaders of the Metro Council, we passed an ordinance saying that the metropolitan government would not discriminate in employment based upon sexual orientation. I vehemently opposed the English-only amendment simply because it was a tool of exclusion. For our Music City Center development, we set a goal of 20% for minority women and small businesses enterprises combined, and I'm happy to report to you that the DBE participation is 30%. Now, I grew up reading Peanuts comic strips in our local newspaper, and here's one that easily illustrates what I'm trying to get across about diversity and inclusion. There's a strip where Lucy demanded that Linus change the channel on TV, and she held up her fist and threatened him if he didn't comply. And Linus asked why Lucy thought she could just walk into the room and take over. And listen to how she responded. She raised her 5 fingers and said, individually, they're nothing. But when I curl them together like this into a single unit, they form a weapon that is terrible to behold. Linus, who my favorite character and I think a smart young man, had one question. Which channel would you like? Like 5 fingers coming together, we have a greater impact when we pool our talents and when we diversify and include. Now let me introduce Ron Samuels, the chairman, president, and CEO of Avenue Bank. Ron?
Thank you all. As the mayor said, I am chairman, president, CEO of Avenue Bank. We're delighted, along with Lipscomb University, to be our 2nd year in sponsoring this. This is an event that we're thrilled to be involved with and believe strongly in the initiative. So thank you for allowing us to do that. And I'm also very proud that we have 2 women on our Avenue board. Karen Saul, who is not here today, but Agenia Clark, who is the head of the Girl Scouts, is here today. And Agenia, we thank you so much for that. In my career, over the years, I've tried to be very inclusive and embrace different perspectives. And in fact, I was made aware just Monday in a little organizational meeting we had that all of the senior executives of our bank have different personality, which is why I have such a challenging job. We did that by design because we do like to change the status quo, and we're delighted. And we do know, as Turney pointed out earlier, that it does make a difference. It makes a difference in the quality of what we have as a company, and also it helps those financial results. Can't be guaranteed, but it sure does help. I'm honored today, though, to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Kathleen McQuiggan. She's a senior advisor at Pax World Management, LLC. She comes here from Boston, and I checked the weather, Kathleen, in Boston this morning. It's 32 and snowing. Even though we may have bad weather here, it's 69 degrees, and I know you'll enjoy that. Pax World Management, LLC is the investment advisor to Pax World Funds. Pax World is has a distinguished history of innovation, having launched the first socially responsible mutual fund in 1971. Her role as senior advisor, she manages efforts on gender equality as an investment concept, and she leads their Women and Wealth Practice Management initiative. In addition to her role at Pax World, Kathleen is president and founder of Catalina Leadership. As a former vice president of Goldman Sachs, she is a nationally known business consultant and spokesperson for the cause of equality for women in business. She was co-chair of the New Talent Subcommittee of Goldman Sachs, firm's Women's Networks Serving Committee, and senior sponsor of Goldman Sachs Boston Women's Network, and was recipient of Goldman Sachs Citizenship and Diversity Award. She is currently co-president of the Boston chapter of 85 Broads. Now, I had to ask about that, and I should have known the answer here. 85 Broad Street is where Goldman Sachs used to be located, and that started an initiative that she's been very involved with for a number of years. In addition, our guest speaker has numerous conferences that she's been the lead speaker, including 85 Broads, Simmons College, and 100 women in hedge funds. Please welcome Kathleen McQuiggan.
And thank you so much for having me join you this morning for the 2012 Cable Boardwalk of Fame breakfast. But I am going to talk to you this morning and spend a few minutes about the business case for advancing gender diversity in the boardroom. Not the emotional argument, although I might get a little emotional at times, but the business case. I spent 20 years on Wall Street in equity sales, helping take companies public. And I can't think of how many hundreds of investor meetings that I did that usually had one thing in common. It was me and then the men. So over the years, I tried not to let it bother me too much, but the more I thought about it and the more the years pass, the more I really felt like there was an injustice being done with women not having more of a seat at the table. I remember in 2006, we actually took Bare Essentials public. Some of you may be familiar with that company. It's a mineral-based makeup company. And the CEO is actually a woman. And I remember we were going into an investor meeting at one of the largest mutual fund companies in the world, and we walked into their boardroom, and it was a big, long round table, and it was me and the management team. And so I sat down at the end of the table and looked up, and I saw about 15 men sitting across from the CEO. And as she started to tell the story about Bare Essentials and the opportunities that that company could present to potential shareholders, I realized that having 15 men listening to this story, that there was a lost opportunity, that they almost seemed distracted by having this woman be the CEO tell the story. And afterwards, I was speaking with one of the portfolio managers, and I said, what do you think about the stock? And he said, I'm not going to participate. I just can't imagine that, people will pay $40 for cosmetics. And I said, okay, well, me and all my women friends, nothing becomes between us and our products, but I realized that, the shareholders of that fund, they were going to be missing an opportunity. And that meeting, if there had been more women at the table, I think the dynamics of the meeting could have been very different. So today, I'd like to narrow that focus of investing in women to one specific area, and that is why having women on boards matters from an investor's perspective, and about some of the things that we, all of us here in this room this morning, men and women, can be doing to be part of the solution. I recently gave a presentation at the Finance for Future initiative where I just mentioned gender inequality on corporate boards. Afterwards, one woman from the audience came up to me and said, I thought we had fixed all these problems. I really don't understand why you're still talking about gender inequality. It occurred to me that most people really don't think or maybe even realize how bad the numbers actually are. That we are missing the business case for why gender diversity isn't a nice thing, it's good for business. And the data I will share with you this morning will bear that out. So let's start with the facts. 16.1%. Women comprise over half of the world's population, but hold 16.1% of Fortune 500 corporate board seats. Those are the numbers. As I mentioned earlier, I'd like to discuss with you why the exclusion of women from corporate boards is bad for business. First, let's look at it from an education perspective. Women are 72% of high school valedictorians. Women are 58% of all undergrad degrees in the US. How about from a jobs perspective? Between 1970 and 2009, women went from holding 37% of all jobs to nearly 48%. Women represent 53% of new hires. And how about from an economic impact? Women globally control 20 trillion in investment dollars and are 9% of the world's billionaires. Women will inherit 70% of the $41 trillion of intergenerational wealth transfer that is expected to happen over the next 40 years. And 27% of married women out-earn their husbands, up from 18% just 10 years ago. So what do these numbers tell you? Women are the biggest talent pool, and women will also be the largest source of new clients for your business. But for all this increase in credentials, there's not been a corresponding increase in senior leadership roles in companies, especially advancing women to the boardroom. Catalyst, which some of you may be familiar with, is a leading not-for-profit membership organization focused on expanding women's leadership in business. They came out with their annual Women on Boards census at the end of last year, and so for 2011, they disclosed the following facts. As I mentioned earlier, right now, women hold 16.1% of corporate board seats on Fortune 500 companies. About 1 in 10 companies have no women on their boards, and women held only 14% of executive officer positions within companies. Really? Women are over half the population, get over half of college degrees, and over half of advanced degrees, but they still don't seem to be advancing in the boardroom. So why does this matter? Women are good for business. Can we afford to be ignoring this talent pool? I don't think we can. And definitely, we can't ignore it if you are thinking about how you are planning to grow your own business in the future. Now, some of you may already see these obvious benefits, and we're here today recognizing some of these local Tennessee companies that are advancing women in the boardroom. But some companies haven't quite made the move yet, and you don't want to be the last one catching this wave, do you? So the last piece I'd like to add on to this business case discussion would be just to highlight some of the research that is out there that talks about what gender diversity adds to a boardroom. Catalyst has shown that companies with 3 or more women corporate directors outperformed those companies with no women on their boards, with having 80% higher return on sales, 60% higher return on invested capital, and over 40% higher return on equity. McKinsey has found that women contribute financial performance and organizational health. Harvard Business Review recently highlighted a study that had been done that answered the question, how do you make your team smarter? By adding women. And the research showed that the collective intelligence of a team rises when women are added to that team. A study of French companies found that those that had more women in their management withstood the 2008 market downturn better than those that had fewer women. Another study of the relationship between gender and trust concluded that gender diversity on corporate boards is one indicator of trustworthy corporations. I could go on, and probably on some more, but I think you get the point. There is clear evidence that gender diversity has positive financial consequences. Joe Keefe, the president and CEO of Pax World, I think says it best. When women are at the table, good things happen. The discussion is richer, the decision-making process is better, management is more innovative and collaborative, and the entire organization is stronger. Promoting gender diversity in the executive suite has never been more important, and the business case for advancing women has never been clearer. Closing the gender diversity gap is a very profitable proposition. One of my favorite quotes around this and spurring people to action is from Jackie Zahner, who is part of our Women's Advisory Council at PAX World. And she constantly tells me, you can't do everything, but you can do something. What will that something be for you? Will it be investing in companies that support women in the boardroom? Will it be proxy voting to support boards with women members? Will it be investing in companies with women in senior leadership roles? Whatever action you take, it will benefit men and women in our society and in our world. We are all interconnected. Let's help level the playing field. When we level the playing field for women, we're increasing the benefits for all. It's good for our communities, it's the right thing to do, and hopefully today I've convinced you it's also good for business. Thank you very much.